Hello my loves, it's your girl Tina here. Today I want to share with you 5 awesome makeup techniques that will help transform your face. Now it's been a while since I filmed a makeup video. I really want to get back into it because I do miss it. And so today I've come up with a list of my favorite makeup techniques that I do on myself. By the way, a little shameless plug in case you guys haven't got one of my palettes with Pixi Beauty. My Tones and Textures Feeling Fresh palette is still available online. So please check it out if you haven't already. First, I have a foundation makeup technique I want to share with you. I call this the thick and thin method. Now, years ago when I was studying to become a makeup artist, we were taught to apply an even layer of foundation all over the face to help knock out any imperfections, to help create a smooth canvas, which makes sense, but what ends up happening is that you end up adding unnecessary product to the areas that don't need that much coverage. Plus, you're taking away the natural skin texture and shadows, and so that can make the face look a little bit more flat, as it loses all its natural shadows, like under the cheekbones, which help to define your face. I used to do this all the time on myself, and I realized that I'm kind of like adding or making more work for myself because later I'll go in with contour to try to get those shadows back. And so what I like to do is the thick and thin technique. So you want to have a good look at your face and skin before you start with foundation and identify the areas that need more coverage. This area will have the thickest amount of foundation. So here I'm using a cushion foundation and I'm just dabbing the most product under my eyes. Usually it's the center of the face that I either want to brighten up or even out. The perimeters of my face usually have less imperfections, so that's the area that's going to have the thinnest amount of product. So I'm just tapping my cushion puff here to remove any excess amount of product, and then I'll start blending in the thickest areas first. So you can see here, these are the areas that have the most foundation. Now I'm going to blend it out, and as I blend it out, I'm not adding any extra product. I'm blending it to the perimeters of my face, which usually have less imperfections, so those areas should have the thinnest amount of foundation. If you find your sponge or puff has a lot of product on it, tap it to remove some of it before working on the thinner areas. By doing this, I'm preserving some of those natural shadows and contours I have on my face. So this is perfect if you don't want to do full glam and you want to do a more natural everyday look, as it reduces the amount of contouring and highlighting you have to do later on. You can see the difference here. One technique creates a very flat canvas, while the other one enhances your natural skin tones and keeps the natural definition. We all know brows help to frame your face, so the way you draw them on is super important. A lot of people tend to just follow their natural eyebrow shape. I did this when I was starting out with makeup. This is okay, but sometimes your brows could be a bit short or perhaps not close enough, which alters how it makes the rest of your face look. If your brows are further apart, it could actually make your nose bridge look bigger. If your brows are a little bit short, it can also make your face look bigger. Instead, try this. Start by drawing your brows closer together. I like to line it up with the side of my nose bridge. Obviously, you don't want them too close either because that will just make your nose look super skinny. Try to find a middle ground that will suit your face shape. I always like to use a brow pencil first and then roughly fill in the shape with this. Next, I'll extend the tail of my brows. By doing this, it helps shorten the sides of my face around the temples, and it also helps draw the eyes out. So when you're looking at yourself or someone's looking at you, it draws their attention outwards. Now, on the areas where you don't have eyebrow hairs, an extra tip that I like to do is use a darker brown eyeshadow that's matte or a brow powder. This one is from my Pixi palette, my Tones and Textures palette, and it's called Daily Dose. And I'm using a small angled brow brush to set and further define my brows. This gives me a sharper tail and crisp shape. Plus, it helps my brows stay on all day. Let's look at the difference between the first technique and the second technique that I showed you. Can you see how on one it makes my face look bigger overall because my natural brows are a lot shorter and more far apart? But when I alter the shape and length, you can see how much smaller my face shape looks. We all know eyeshadows can really transform your eyes and be the focal point of your makeup, so the placement of the colors you use are important. A common thing I see, and it's something I used to do all the time, was try to make my eyes look bigger by applying and blending my transition shade just above my crease. Then with a darker eyeshadow, I'll use that and focus it on the outer corner of my eyes only. Now this does help to elongate your eyes. It gives you that cat eye shape, which is fine if that's something that you're after. But for me, I really wanted to make my eyes look bigger overall. Then I'll pop the lighter shade or the highlight or the glitter shade, whatever I'm using, on the inner corner. So it goes from light to dark. This technique is great, don't get me wrong. It gives you a more cat eye shape because it helps draw the eyes and elongate the end of the eye out. It also depends on your eye shape. This could work well for close set eyes, but for me, I wanted to make my eyes look bigger and rounder overall. So I started doing a different technique. Here I'm using the shade Soft Fade from my Tones and Textures palette. First, I would blend the transition shade higher and further into the inner and outer corner of my eyes. I'd really diffuse and blow it out. Then with the darker shade, I'll use that to create depth in the inner and outer corners of my eyes. The shade I'm using here is called Snug. By doing this, it will help elongate both sides of my eyes, giving it an overall bigger appearance. Finally, with the highlight shade, I like to apply it on the center of my lids to give it that extra pop. This shade is Vibin, and you can see how it just draws the attention to the center of my eyes. And now my eyes look rounder and a lot bigger. You guys can see the difference here. When it comes to eyeliner, I love me a good liquid liner to help define my eyes, but sometimes this can look a little bit harsh on its own. So I've added an extra step, and that's to apply a dark brown eyeshadow over my liquid liner to help soften up everything. I love doing this extra step as it gently diffuses the harsh edge and creates a nice blend against my eyeshadows. You can see the difference here. In my opinion, it helps to elevate my eye makeup look and makes it look more professional. What do you guys think? Moving on to a blush technique. You guys know that I love my blush. I am a blush girl, and it's one of the steps I never miss pretty much. Okay, so the old school way I learned to apply blush was to smile and then find the fullest part or the apples of your cheeks and apply the blush there. Back then I thought this was a genius technique. I would get my clients to do this, but the problem with this is that when you're not smiling, the apples of your cheeks tend to drop. And it's especially obvious as you get older. So if you apply blush this way, it ends up pulling your face down and almost gives you a more mature look. Now, if you want a more lifted and youthful look, try this technique. Find your cheekbone or the area you would normally apply your highlight. Yes, we're actually going that high up on the cheekbones or just like right under the eyes. And you want to apply your blush there. This might feel a little weird at first, but trust me, it helps draw the focus upwards and pulls everything back. Now, when you're blending your blush, make sure you're not going too far inwards, closer to the nose. You don't want to pass your eye line. If you do, don't worry, you can just apply a little bit of your foundation to remove some of that blush and tone it down. Also, as you're blending, sweep the color back and upwards towards your temples. Now, because we applied our blush where our highlighter used to go, you can still achieve that glowy finish by using a shimmer blush or glowy blush. This one is the Hello Kitty one from Pixi Beauty. It's called Friendly Blush. So it has a bit of a sheen to it, and you can just use a smaller brush to blend it over on top of your high points. Check out the difference here, guys. Can you see which side looks more lifted and youthful? Definitely the second one. Now that's all the makeup techniques I have for you guys today. If you found this video useful or if you enjoyed learning some of these tips and you want to see more, please comment and let me know below. That way I can create more in-depth makeup technique videos for you guys. Maybe I'll do like one for each like brows or liner or blush or lipstick. I could categorize it like that. That would work. So please let me know. If you're new here, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos that I post. And I shall speak to you guys next time. Bye!